As we're gonna start the session.
I can't remember exactly.
Well, yes, did you? I don't know. I got told to just
really? Why?
When I went to this conference back in 2009.
I stole AC unit. Wow.
And I captured.
You didn't know? They're like, it kills them. And I'm like, really? And I went to go push them down and they're like, really? Cool.
Right. And Cindy responded, love it, you're welcome.
I don't need to.
Oh, moon pie?
You know, it's kind of like
There are ones with moon pie, there are a couple on the JSC credit
Because
table.
I got that $20
Yeah, I know nothing about. We went to that event that the astronomers, the astronauts,
A bunch of techies, and we're like, oh,
they all had the welcome back ceremony. So I was walking back from, so I went out the gate, the car gate, because it was right there, right across, and the car was coming in.
About
and there was
6
space, so I just walked through.
Star Wars.
Yeah, I really, so then I walked through, I started walking, I'm like, put my iPod off, and then after about
I really think bless myself.
security cars like,
How is
towards me, and then it gets kind of more on the side of the road, and I just like, it's gonna be over.
I mean, it's probably really cool. I thought it was really cool where they went back and tried to build it up and explain
Katy Perry or
everything.
somewhere. I just got some astronaut pictures, and then slowly more and more similar. And there's two people in there, both hearing that.
hey, Sarah, did you ever get that one to work?
No.
Right? I didn't know what I didn't think about what I've done.
I can't figure out why that
When
one's
they
not
stop the
working.
car, and one of them slowly gets out, the other one is kind of on the walkie-talkie. And they're computer happy. And I take one headphone out, and I'm looking at them, and I said, can we see your badge? I was like, can we see it? And I'm like, where's it?
Yeah, I think this is perfect.
And
We'll start
I
with
give
the
it to him,
video
and
and
then he's
then
just writing stuff down.
sort of tag team
He's
it.
like, where's it working? And I was like, the Neuroscience Laboratory?
Yeah, it's just a short video.
Scott Wood? What's his, what office is he in? So he's like, he's asking, I'm like, what? And he's like, all right,
I
well,
said
you're
it
not
makes
supposed to walk
some
through
very
that car
critical
gate.
points.
Cool. Okay. He's like, well, why are you walking? And I was like, I'm just walking. I don't mind walking. Okay. He's like, all right. So then they're both looking, and they're like, all right. And then they're starting. It's all clear. It's all clear. Or whatever.
Yeah.
Or do you want to ship down one? Yeah. Because then those of us hosting can all be kind of long in the same area.
What's your limit?
No, I have footage yet.
Were you on when I got this computer? And the guy hadn't sent us the password for the encryption manager?
I know.
And I love that.
Untold story.
Cool. I was like,
Did you watch my
it's a brand new computer. I was like,
two check marks at the very end? You see helicopter land.
oh, fantastic.
started playing music or something.
Yeah, I didn't know the speakers
Kind of down the line, sorry. I had to
I
one.
know what it is.
I know, but I would
I don't. So
share with you. That's what I did here.
is that a tribble?
So I had to.
Yes.
That's a little
Wait,
trouble.
where's that trigger?
More involved.
Not every day I can ask that.
Yes.
But you know,
That is a troublesome tribble.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
I should have thrown that at them just to see what they would do.
It's not Cisco. Cisco does not.
Oh, okay, no. You know what, I'm gonna go with you. Actually,
It's better to shot it.
like, there's
It's wrong.
yeah, I had a lot of that.
They just shoot everything.
I am a big like,
These are being at the end.
I know.
Like, ooh.
I don't know what we're gonna start there.
there's something absolutely magical.
Elise, please take something. You're about to be in so much pain you don't even realize.
speaking in terms of getting something.
But you know what? All worth it.
Not necessarily getting anything one.
As the second most injured person in the room, yeah, it was worth it. Now I'm gonna be down to 3 trebles since I promised Meg and Holly that I'd send them to her.
Man, you cleaned up.
Like 10, and I'm working them out slowly. I gave them to like everybody who like helped me out with going down there and stuff, like on the way home. Like Gandhi let me stay with him and stuff. stuff, so I let him and his boyfriend have their pick of the litter. Other than Mouse. Mouse was my one gray one.
Right.
I remember. Are you still tweeting?
You know when they where it's like one of the back.
Or is it?
I'm going to tweet some stuff from here once I get pictures like on my computer and stuff. I've taken a lot
That
of
is
Mouse
why I
pictures,
got rid of my
but,
Twitter account.
yeah,
I
only
hired my
when
friend.
Mouse is doing cool stuff. Because, you know, I need to use my computer and phone sometimes.
Well, that's exciting.
Can just give it to
Toy
me.
strips?
I was joking that I was going to give her my old gray.
I got to see the Clay Anderson ones.
So that's sort of.
I love triples because sometimes I say her and sometimes him, and that's both totally appropriate.
There you go.
Okay. So we're gonna start by showing this film, and I know that what we kind of did is because a lot of people, I think this subject has come up a lot in many discussions on this question of really generating the will in society to have NASA do what it does best. So one of the things that I think has come up is this question of culture. Like, how are we going to change the culture so that the great things that we do here are actually recognized as great by everyone else, and the whole culture takes on this character of really putting forward a mission for humanity, a mission for using NASA to do what it does best. And so since a lot of you are talking about this, my friend and I wanted to talk about it, and so we joined forces with some other people who wanted to talk about it. And hopefully we're going to lump everything together once this other session is. We're going to transplant it into the big room, and hopefully everyone can just chime in together on that. So I'm going to show you a video that I took on my crappy little SD camera back in 2009 at a conference sponsored by the American Astronautical Society. And I thought this was a really good jumping off point for a discussion about this subject. So it's about 5.5 minutes. So, but we can maybe watch the video and then maybe lead into a couple more things. So this is on my YouTube page. You go to youtube.com/IanMKO1776. That's my page. And so yeah, I'll just show you this video, and then we can get started.
We could just turn the computer around. Yeah, just turn the camera around. Can we turn the camera around? Camera towards the TV.
Is that Marilyn?
Here you go. That's Marilyn.
Learn from those people. In one set of focus groups that we did, we actually presented information about spin-offs, okay, but they were technologies that NASA either gave rise to directly or contributed to. And one of these groups is going to be with me until the day I die, because I learned tons of things from 8 people, but this one person in particular. We got to a bunch of groups that presented the same information. So we get to this group, and we present information about advanced breast cancer imagery. And the technology that's used to basically get that imagery, which is now non-invasive and a whole lot of other neat things, but there's, I don't know if you follow this language, female, okay, but over the last 10 years or so, there's been a huge change, okay, in radiology with regard to how breast cancer imaging is done. And now, sort of after the sort of baseline mammography, now there's a whole other level of imaging that you can go to sort of help you resolve sorts of issues, whereas before you had to pick the knife, okay, to do that. So, tell that story. And this woman bursts into tears. She's about 55 or 56. Every female in her family, going back 3 generations, has died of breast cancer. She's had it. Her daughters have had it. Mother had it. Grandmother had it. They have that gene. Whatever that gene is, right? They have that gene. But one of her sisters, okay, who's actually older than she, had not yet died of it, and she had several rounds of it, actually. But the last round, one, which was one that was most insidious, had actually been caught because of advanced, which then we would bother with these women in series, you know, our theories, the next step, okay, so had been caught, okay, in sort of the next go around because of the advanced stuff. And now her whole family, I mean, her daughters and nieces and, you know, and all the rest of that kind of stuff, they're all going in and getting that stuff now. And this is the first time that this multi-generational family of women have had any hope. And I'm going to cross about that. And she just completely broke down, and she said, where did this come from inside NASA? Thank God we had somebody that actually knew something about it, because there isn't this industry research. And so that person sort of talked about it, and she wanted to know how long did it take to develop. So then a few of us jumped in and said, well, it's in the context of a larger enterprise. Right? So you can't say, I'm going to sit down and develop advanced imagery techniques, which at some point are going to be applied to cancer. They develop out of need, okay, or discovery, or both, okay, and we sort of move to the enterprise. And the point is, okay, and she got it. She said it before anybody else did. She said the point is, if you're not doing this for 20 or 30 years, then you never get there. Her whole group got there to the point where actually we couldn't use the data. Because the one person, okay, had pulled the whole group, okay, into her story. But what I learned, again, okay, was A, the power of narrative. Okay? B, the power of relevance. And it was my research, okay, that showed that if you demonstrate relevance to people when you talk about NASA, you get a willingness to vote for increased funding. That's why that research caught hold. It's not because I said relevance is cool. It's because I made the connection between greater relevance. Oh, now people may be willing to say, yeah, you know what, NASA should get a few more bucks, okay? Especially if you tell them how little they get. So the story there, okay, was about that connection that she made. But for me, the neater thing about it, because we already knew that. If you make connections to people about specific things, but for me, what was most interesting about it was she took that and went immediately to this idea that you don't get that like that. You only get that, okay, if you have an enterprise that's built for the future, okay, and it has decades, okay, involved in sort of study and development. And I have thought about that group and thought about that group and thought about that group for 3 years, sort of wondering what are the magic ingredients to get a person or people, okay, from the particular thing that they're connecting to, because we can all do that. We can all talk about spin-offs and how they're dark with it. But how do you get from there to it takes you 20 years, it takes you 30 years, it takes you thinking about the future, to be able to sort of develop that. So enterprises that are built for the future, or building for the future, are inherently very valuable and challenging to a nation's best interest. I have some young mentees here at Johnson Space Center getting ready to go to Europe this year, and I said they'll shall go to Rome, they'll shall stand on this hill, and they'll shall go in that direction. And they said, why? And I said, because as soon as you do that and you look across where the Senate stood and you lay eyes on the Coliseum, which you can see, okay, from there, you will understand that those emperors were building for the next 1,000 years consciously. Okay? Consciously.
So that's my video.
When was that taken?
That was in December 2009 at the AAS conference, which I know some people here were there. I recognize faces. But I mean, so what she was bringing up is this thing that I think we've all kind of been bringing up a little bit, which is how do you get from recognizing, okay, this is relevant, to we just need to be funding the R&D sector so that we can have breakthroughs like that come up and that feed effectively to the world around us. And that's why I put the title on that I did. That if you look at people and you say, what makes a person different from an animal? In that a person, a human being, has the capability of thinking and living beyond their moral life, or to contribute to and participate in something beyond their immediate situation. People have a sense of immortality, and we express that in the day-to-day life and by doing things like this. And I think that's something that is missing from society today. You know, you look at the world, and the world's all about instant gratification this, sensual pleasure this, you know, sex sells, awesome ideas don't sell because they don't tickle you in the right place. But those things aren't what actually make you a human being. That's not what makes you awesome. What makes you awesome is your ability to inspire hope in coming generations by the contributions you make by doing research for 30 years that spins off into something, you know, maybe you never meet the people, but you've now created a capability for them to you know, give birth to the next Einstein or the next Mozart or something like that. And I think that's missing from today. I think it's also conscious that it's missing. People know that there's a lot of emptiness in the culture today. And I'm going to pose, as, you know, because I have certain liberties because I'm not restricted from talking about politics, because I don't work for JSC, but I'll say this, that it's pretty clear that you have a conflict of interest between people who are saying you have to balance the budget and bail out Wall Street speculators, which has been shown to be a fraud by this recent FCIC report, and what people here are talking about doing, which is creating a capability of mankind to terraform and explore the whole universe, to bring the universe under the dominion of mankind and the improvement of the improvement of the universe. So I guess what I wanted to bring up is this question: how are we going to change the culture? How are we going to change the culture to bring back a sense of living immortality where we have a mission? We, as human beings, our mission is now for mankind. And it's not in the particular mission what we're doing. It's not in going. It's not the El Cross in and of itself. El Cross for El Cross's sake. It's not Chandra for Chandra's sake. It's how are we going to convey to the coming generations, you are not left alone. You're not forgotten. You have a mission, and we're going to build a mission and give it to you. And I think the questions of it comes with music, poetry, the arts, as well as through a real rigorous scientific perspective on that. I think that's something that we can contribute to changing the culture, to where it's alive again, where that sense of a mission is alive again. And I wanted to open that up as a discussion topic.
Well, you know, one of the things that you kind of touched on is we talk so much about, like, everything in our society is all about profit-driven. It's all profit-driven. And sometimes the best research needs to actually not just be about that, because you don't know where research might lead. You don't have, who would have guessed that going to the moon would create the ability to have a smartphone?
Way to copy click.
And this smartphone has about 4 times the processing power as any computer that existed during Apollo. So the entire mission was run from a computer that is so much less capable than this little thing I hold in my pocket. I actually saw Jim Lovell and Fred Hayes talking about this. They made everybody take out their phone and look at it and be like, okay, that is actually a better computer than all our mainframes put together that ran Apollo.
Amen.
And this technology directly came from that. We wouldn't have these if it weren't for that program, and if it weren't for what IBM was doing to increase their computer capacity for that program. So sometimes, like, most of the best discoveries weren't made on purpose. They were made through having to do other things, and then they trickle down to us. Mm-hmm. And people don't realize that. They're not. They take this for granted. I mean, how do you not? We take our phones for granted at this point, right? Everybody has one, pretty much.
Well, to relate to people in here, to be completely honest, how many of you are parents? How many of you have kids? Me. Well, now, I was reading some of the spin-offs from NASA, and I mean, I'm up to date on some of the recent ones. Our iPhones, our flat screen TVs that my generation can't live without. I completely forgot what it's like to live without my cell phone or my computer. I used to play outside as a kid all the time. Now I sit there, I get outside, and I'm like, this is kind of boring. And one thing I read that interested me, and if I'm wrong, someone feel free to correct me, but I read somewhere that at one point in the NASA program, they needed to develop toothpaste for the astronauts going into space that they couldn't swallow. Well, that they could swallow. My apologies. What spin-off do you think came from that? Huh?
Probably a lot of the dental.
The children's toothpaste that you train your kids to brush their teeth with. So, I mean, you could even get to parents that way, telling them, hey, look, you know, a NASA spin-off technology is helping you teach your kids oral hygiene. Yet, you know, it's stuff like that that just goes under the radar and isn't noticed. And, I mean, there's even shampoo out there they've developed. I've used it myself on a 2-week MDRS mission. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of that. We were out there. We were allowed Navy showers, for what those of you who know what they are. But we couldn't...
Explain what they are.
Okay, Navy showers, essentially what they are is you jump in, you get wet, you shut it off, you lather up, you jump in, you rinse, you turn it off, you're done. So, being a female out there, my long hair for 2 weeks, not being showered, oh, yes, that's not happening. So, we bought the shampoo that is now commercialized that Sally makes for the astronauts on orbit that is waterless shampoo, and you can sit there and wash your hair. Hikers use it, climbers use it on camping trips. It's simple things like that that are used in various fields that are coming across as everyday needs, not being tied back to NASA. But if we could get a reality like that back to the public and see just how much it penetrates your everyday lives, that might be a wake-up call. It's not educating them. I mean, it's just, you know, coming up with just a simple fact. Oh, by the way, you know, that thing you were using was developed by NASA? And if it doesn't flicker their light bulb, so be it. But if it just does it to one person, that's success.
In fact, how many of you actually have seen or read the NASA spin-off book that they put out?
A whole book?
Yeah, it's like this thick.
Oh, yeah, there's
I mean, you get the
2009.
little bitty ones that they send out all the time. But
Yeah, they have like small. They have like smaller, more specialized ones usually, and then they have like a big, thick one that's got like everything. And they, I don't know if they put it out every year.
The small one's monthly, and then the IPP office puts out the big thick one once a year.
Right, that's
But
what I
it's,
thought.
I mean, it's they only make they have a limited run because they're awesome. They're full color, and they're probably 150, 200 pages.
Yeah, and they're beautifully made, definitely. And it's like the most fascinating thing I've ever read.
Yeah. If you could put that, like, if you could have those as a slides at Walmart, right? Or at TSA, you know, like at the airport.
Yeah. That's, talk about a captive audience.
They may or may not like it, but hey, guess what?
Well, what, who's to say you couldn't put screens like that up, right?
Right.
If the TSA can do it, why can't we do it? Like, why can't we say, why can't we make a request and say what we would like are some science facts at places where we have to sit for hours at a time? Here's the stack of slides. All you got to put is the screen up.
Yeah.
Not a bad idea.
plus you're getting all walks.
One thing I think it's actually really important, and this is something that isn't usually talked about because people don't usually see it as relevant, but it's actually really, really important for the discussion, and that's the economic crisis. Because right now we're in the whole world right now is in a breakdown economic crisis, and I mean a financial crisis where banks and whole nations are defaulting, and I mean a physical crisis where we're not producing the food and the logistics needed to support our population densities. China is one of the few countries that's actually doing something about this. You know, they actually have protective rates on their currency, and they're actually investing in things like nuclear power and giant dams and high-speed railroads and space program. So that's a good model in terms of just a general idea. But the thing about it is that unless we were to actually address a certain reality, which is that you have basically a syndicate of banking cartels that are opposed to what NASA does.
Yes.
Because it doesn't make money to spend 30 years investing in a mission when they're concerned about rolling over $20 trillion every night because they're taking these immediate loans to prop up financial bubbles, which have no value. Like mortgage-backed securities do not send people to the moon. They do not invent cures for cancer. They do not put food
They don't
in
invent
people's
stents.
mouths. Wait, what?
They don't invent stents for hearts.
No, they shouldn't. They do cause people
I
to
mean,
have heart attacks.
how many people are alive? How many bankers are alive because of NASA technology right now?
Well, I
How many
think they're a
people
good
have lost
thing
their jobs
anyway.
because of bankers?
Huh?
How many NASA people have lost their jobs because of bankers?
Yeah.
You know, it's a real question.
Well,
like-
and the thing is, what people don't understand, like, you hear the argument a lot, we should stop paying for NASA because we can't afford it right now. We have too much else we have to pay for, and our budget's too big. We need to trim it down. And a lot of people look at NASA first as what we should cut because they see it as useless. What they don't understand is how much it contributes to our economy. Like, there's so few products made in America now. But some of the ones that are direct NASA derivatives. And so, these companies, they get to use this stuff for free. They don't have to, it's not like if a company invents something, for anyone else to make it, they have to pay a lot of money to license the rights. Whereas NASA, they get it for free, and any company can get this technology and get access to it. You know, once it's publicly available, they all have the rights to manufacture it. So, it's actually contributing to our economy, but it's just not in a direct line. It's hard for people to see the line of that. I mean, it's illegal for NASA to take licensing fees for people creating products out of their technology, which I personally think is a shame. I personally think that's a law that should be changed. My idea was if NASA could take 1% licensing, anyone could use the technology, so it wouldn't be a playing favorites thing, but if NASA could get like 1% off of their technologies that people make, we could spend no taxes on NASA and have a much better funded space program.
Mm-hmm. And you know, the whole cost thing, speaking from someone who interned in the summer at a center that is very diverse. I don't know how many of you have been to Goddard, but Goddard has a little bit of everything. They have the human spaceflight aspect of Hubble. They had SAM being constructed there for MSL. They have the satellite mission control, and they have the Earth Observatory offices. So they got a little bit of everybody around there. And what's interesting that I noticed from an intern perspective that kind of made me question if I want to work for NASA is all the internal bickering that went on between the offices, fighting for that slim little budget that Congress and whoever give them because NASA can't make a profit. They only have to go off government money. And so if you have people fighting internally for different aspects of space exploration, it's going to weaken the ability to outreach effectively because you got one office going, our project is the best. No, our project is the best. When essentially they need to learn again how to work as one, like they did back in the Apollo days. Granted, there was still some bickering back then, but not as much.
There was a lot of bickering back then.
To give you an example, I was walking down the hallway during my internship at one point, and I was in the Earth observing offices, except for the bottom floor of our building was where SAM was being built because it had the clean room capable to house it. So there were a whole bunch of engineers on the first floor of a 4-story building with all Earth scientists. And I can remember walking down the hallway with a couple of my mentors, a couple fellow interns, and the guy made a wisecrack because there were all these Earth pictures in the hallway going, psh, these scientists just don't get it. It's all about engineering. And I kind of looked at him, and part of me wanted to say, well, yeah, but it's the scientist who's always the lead PI telling you what to build. So, you know, you have that dynamic of the smart comments like that going around, and it's just kind of an example.
It's cynical. People are cynical. Yeah.
I just want to do programming note. It's time to switch sessions. So if you want to do,
we were planning on moving this to
is this the
lecture
session
hall.
you're moving into there? Okay.
Yeah.
Because we were going to do. I think they put we're unemployed united in this room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
if you would like to shift.
Shifting onward.
Grab a sandwich.
Unemployed United?
Unemployed United. I don't know what
I
that
like
means.
that about the marketing. You know, like I said, I will not like to say.
No, just save and then.
Yes. That's a key thing, I think, in the new economy. And you know, that's the new space thing, too, in a lot of ways, because, space has always been a commercial thing.
The truth is,
Just that a
back
lot
in
less
Apollo,
people had the right.
we had a massive amount of bickering. The difference was we had a much bigger pie to fight over.
Yes.
There's a solution for that. I got a solution for that.
Make the pie